Guys, in this video we'll be discussing about a concept called higher order functions. We'll be answering following questions. First, what are higher order functions? Second, why do we need them? And thirdly, we'll be taking a look at the examples present inside frameworks such as React and in JavaScript itself, and we'll be creating replicas and polyfills for those. Let's move on. So what are higher order functions? Higher order functions are those functions that take other functions as an argument, return other functions, or a combination of both. That's it. Hey guys, so did you get something out of that definition? I'll give you an answer. If I was someone who was relatively new to programming languages, I wouldn't get shit. So analogy time, I'll try to give you examples in our homes, in our surroundings that might help you to think about this concept, how it actually is, how it works. So a very simple concept. Everybody has water tanks at their home, right? And there is a pipe connecting that water tank to our bathrooms. And then there is another concept where we can attach different shower heads to that particular pipe, right? So recently, I was bored of the circular shower head that I had in my home. And then I purchased a wide-mouthed, square-shaped shower head. And then it gave an effect of water droplets. So in programming languages concept, you can think about it as the water tank being the data, container of the data, right? The pipe is a function that transfers data from water tank to the output stream, right? And then that particular pipe behaves as a higher order component, which allows us to attach different type of shower heads with respect to our choices. Simple, fair enough. You can attach circular shower heads, you can attach square shower heads, you can attach nothing if you want. And you get the point, right? And this was the most common example that I think everybody would have seen in their life. And let's move on to some code now and see why do we actually need them in programming languages. Hey guys, so let's dwell into some code. So I have downloaded this product list. It has 20 products. And it has 4 categories to it, as you can see. So what I'll do is that I'll filter out men's clothing because I want to buy something flashy for me. So what I'll do is that I'll create a function, get men's clothing. And I'll iterate over the array, right? And what I'll do is that I'll declare an array, assign products to it. Twice. Okay, cool. Okay, so now I'm iterating over this array and then I'm getting an element, and then I'll simply add a condition called element dot category equals to men's clothing. I'll also create a new array, men's clothing. I'll push these products to this array, and then I'll simply return this array. Okay, all right. So I'm done with this particular method. Let's see if I'm getting the data or not. Get men's clothing. I'll simply run node.main.js, and you see I'm getting 4 products now. But now the problem is I want something that is actually good in rating. So what I'll do is that I'll add another check in my if condition, which will see if the rating of the product is greater than 4. So I'll simply do and element dot rating dot rate is greater than 4. Cool. Let's run this again and see how many products we have now. So I'm getting 2 products, but one is actually quite out of my range. So what I'll do is that I'll have a range in my mind with respect to the price, and then add another condition saying that element dot price should be greater than 20 and element dot price should be less than, let's say, 40. Okay, so I have this condition, and then let's run this product again. So now I have one product, and then I'm comfortable with this because its rating is fine, its price is in the range, and it's part of men's clothing. But you see, one thing that I missed here is that this condition has gotten really big. So what I'll do is that I'll extract this condition to a new function just for my sake. Okay, so I'll simply create a new function and I'll say men's clothing filter. Okay, and what I'll do is that I'll copy paste this whole thing and I'll simply add a return here. Okay, so it'll check whether the element's category is men's clothing, then check for the rating, and then it'll return the Boolean expression for it, right? I'm missing one thing. I also need to pass element here. So this would take an element and I'll simply do men's clothing filter. I'll pass an element and let's run this again. Okay, so this works. So now my code is clean. I have two separate functions. I have men's clothing filter, which has that conditions, 4 conditions. And then I have this men's clothing function, which returns me men's clothing, and my code is a little bit cleaner now. Okay, let's suppose I want to buy something for my mother as well. Okay, so I will create, let's suppose I want to buy some jewelry. So get jewelry, and then what I'll do is that I'll copy this thing here. Okay, and I'll simply name it to jewelry, and I need to have different filter here now. Okay, so, and this also would be replaced here as well. So what I'll do is that I'll create a new condition here because I want to buy some fancy jewelry for my mother. I'll search for jewelry that has good rating, right? And it might be pricey, but let's see. Okay, so what I'll do is that element dot category, it needs to be jewelry, right? Let's see how many items do we have in jewelry. Okay, oh my god, we have a lot of items. We have 8 items in 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 5 items in jewelry. Okay, but I want only that jewelry whose rating is more than 4. So I'll add another condition, element dot rating dot rate is greater than 4. Let's see how many jewelries we have for this condition. Just 1, which is fine. But you see, this condition also might get a little worse if the number of elements increase, because I also want that the rating count should be greater than 200. I mean, it should be reviewed by at least 200 people. Okay, so now this condition has also increased. It has become a little bit complex. So what I'll do is that I'll copy this particular condition. I'll create a new function, get jewelry filter, and I'll simply return the thing that I pasted, and I'll also pass an element here just as I passed in men's clothing filter, and I'll call this particular method here jewelry filter. Let's see if it works. I'll also pass in the element. Let's see if it works. So I got the data and it works fine. But do you see a mistake in my code? If I copy this filter above here, and if you just take a look at these two functions side by side, can you see there is duplication in my code? In both the methods, I'm iterating over products, right? I am pushing the filtered element into an array, and then I'm returning that array, right? Both the functions are doing the same thing, but the only difference is the filter. Filter is the only difference. So now what I'll do is that this particular situation is a perfect candidate for me to create a higher order function. You remember that example that I gave you? The tank and the pipe and the filter. So this array is a container of data. Get men's clothing and get jewelry is a pipe that actually transfers this data to a filter that we provided here, and then it returns us the data with respect to our filter. Cool. It can be jewelry filter, it can be men's clothing filter. The next thing that we need to do is, instead of creating multiple pipes for multiple filters, how about we create just one pipe which can accommodate multiple filters, which would mean we would create a single method that would have implementation, a similar implementation of both these pipes that we have. Let's do that. So I'll create function get product HOC, right? And then I'll simply copy paste this thing here. Instead of jewelry, I'll say product, and here as well I'll say products, and here as well I say products. But the tricky thing is filter. How do we get past this particular problem? So it's pretty easy. We can pass this filter as an argument, right? So I have created two methods here, men's clothing filter, jewelry filter. Both take an element as an argument. What I want to do is that I want to pass those functions as an argument to get product HOC. So I'll say filter function, it's an argument, and what I'll do is that it's an argument of type function, and I'll simply call it. How would I call it? Just like I'm calling jewelry filter, men's clothing, I'll simply say filter function, and I'll just pass an element to it. Okay, and the next time that I call it, I'll simply call it using get product HOC, and then I'll simply pass in filter function. Filter function, let's suppose I want to pass men's clothing filter. If you pass in the name of the function, right, you pass a reference to that function, and then that reference is present inside filter function, and then you can call it just like a normal function. It'll call the function whose reference is present inside this variable. This variable can be named anything. Okay, so let's see if this particular concept works. So I'll simply clear this, and I'll do node main.js, and you see I have got my product for men's clothing, right? And what I'll do, the second thing is I'll also pass jewelry filter here. Let's see if I get that data. Awesome, I get jewelry filter data as well. So now what I can do is that I can remove this duplicated code. I can create X amount of filters, then I would just pass it to this get product higher order component, or sorry, my bad, higher order function, right? And this is the concept that higher order function is all about. But this particular example caters to the first type of higher order function, a function that takes function as an argument and then returns the data on the basis of that. Hey guys, so I hope I was able to explain to you the concept of higher order functions in the last section, but the problem that we solved is not the only problem where that particular concept applies. There are multiple scenarios which we would be exploring in the next section. But before moving, I would like you to pause this video and get your head around the last problem we solved. Thank you guys. Hey guys, welcome to the last section of the video. In this particular section, we would be exploring pub/sub pattern and how pub/sub pattern incorporates higher order functions concept into it. We'll take an example of RxJS subjects, but let's take a look how it works first. We create a new instance of subject, and that instance have two methods to it. First is the subscribe, which takes in function as an argument, and second is the next. And the functionality of subject is whenever you push the data using the next method, the function that you sent as an argument to subscribe method gets invoked. So for example, you created an instance of subject in one portion of the code, and then you subscribe to it in another portion of the code. Whenever you call next, that subscribed method would be called. Okay, the third part is that subscribe method also returns subscription, and you can unsubscribe to that particular subscription using the unsubscribe method. And once that is done, the function that you passed never gets called again whenever you push in next data. Let's create our replica of it. We'll create a new function called subject. We'll create two instance methods to it, which is subscribe, which takes in function as an argument. And then we'll also create next method, which takes in data as an argument. So next method would push data to each and every method that is subscribed to. So we'll create a list here. Var list is equal to new set, and we'll add these functions to this list. Dot add func. Okay, and then this next method would just iterate over this list. Oops. And then for each function, it'll just call it, passing in the data. Okay, let's see if this piece of code works or not. So I'll do const sub is equal to new subject. I'll do sub dot subscribe. I'll pass in the function here. I'll console log the data. Okay, and then I'll do sub dot next, and I'll pass in, let's suppose, the current date, ISO string. Okay, let's see if this works or not. This should print the date that I'm sending here. Oh, sorry, my bad. I actually didn't take in the data here. Okay, let's do it again. Perfectly fine. Okay, so it shows me the data. Okay, let's do it twice. Okay, so it loaded 2 times. Fine, which works fine. Now what about unsubscription? It's pretty easy. We'll return a new object that has property unsubscribe, and then it is of type function because we call it here, as you can see. And then what we'll do, the next thing is that we'll remove the function that is in this lexical scope. That's it. So if I unsubscribe to it at this particular line, oops, sorry, bad, subscription. If I unsubscribe to it at this particular line, it will just print date once, as we can see. So this is a small replica of RxJS subjects. You can see the higher order function concept being applied here, right? And then we are just iterating over all the functions inside the list and just calling them back. That's it. Hey guys, I hope I was able to explain you the concept of subjects and how it incorporates higher order function concept into it. It's a pretty beautiful concept if you have worked with RxJS subjects. If you have not, I would really recommend it to you to do so. But this video is getting pretty long. Okay, so I would be creating a second part to it, and that second part would involve functions that return functions, and also functions that take in functions as an argument and then return them. We would be discussing about 2 examples, use effect and use state, how these 2 functions incorporate that particular paradigm, right? Also, if you like this video, please subscribe or leave a review comment. It'll help me a lot. See you in the next video, guys. Take care.